Hi, this is Kevin from Map Practical, and today we're going to be looking at, let's see here, um, Building Geodatabases, Lab 2. This is for the Introduction to GIS and Cartography class, right? Okay, so the instructions are all there. They'll be down in the description. I'm going to send you over to the Natural Earth website, so let's go take a look at that real quick. There you go. So you'll end up here on the Natural Earth website, and the instructions says click the big green button, get the data. So there we go, and then we're going to be looking at the medium scale data. So underneath the medium scale 1 to 50 million, we're going to look at cultural. And then right here at the top, it's download all of the cultural themes. So you just click on that and you'll download a big zip of all the cultural themes. And then you go back to downloads and do it again for the physical. So you click on that button there and then grab all the 50 million physical themes. And it includes everything like coastlines and land polygons, oceans, you name it. So this is data that's all created to align together for the entire world. So you've got cultural themes with the towns and the streets and all that type of stuff, physical geography, and then these rasters. So you'll click the raster button, and these are different blended tints. So what we call hypsometric tinting or shaded relief. We're going to go to Natural Earth 1. And then we're going to download the small size right here, shaded relief with water. Okay, these will all come in as zipped files. I'm not going to go over how to unzip them at all. I think we've already done that a little bit, so let's go ahead and just close this out. But I will show you what it looks like in my folder. So I've got my folder, my Intro GIS Labs, and now it's Intro GIS Lab 2. And you'll have a cultural zip and a physical zip. So you just need to right-click on those, 7-zip, extract to 50 million cultural. It'll create a folder and put all that data in it. And then you create a new folder called raw data, right? And inside of it, you'll have the unzipped. So here's the cultural themes, the physical themes, and then the raster. Okay, so that's Natural Earth to 50 million shaded relief with water. All right, so it's all inside your raw data. Then you don't need the zip files anymore. So I'm just going to delete those. And then we're done in the Windows environment. So let's go over to our catalog. All right, and then I'm going to open up the instructions and have them on my other page. Let's see if I can pull that off real quick. And move that over here. All right, so that's basically how you go and you get the data. It's not too hard. After you unzip everything, then you open up our catalog. You make your folder connection to your lab 2 right there. That's why I had you make the folder connection up above in the labs folder so you can see. So there's last week's work. Here's this week's work. And then we have our raw data folder. And when we look inside our 50 mil cultural, it's got all these different shape files, right? All right. So once you're in here, you look in the 50 million cultural and take a look at this one, right? Where is it? Countries. And hit preview, and what do we see? Countries of the world, right? In the description tab, if we take a look at it, we'll probably see not much, okay? And that's just a problem because the metadata isn't formatted correctly. So what we have to do is go up to Customize, Art Catalog Options, and then on the metadata tab here, we're going to change this item description. We're going to change that to this FGDC metadata. So that's just going to change the format. Great. And then we're going to go up to File and, where is it, File? No, I think it's actually Refresh. View, Refresh. Or you could hit F5. You could also right-click on a folder, right, and hit Refresh. That works too. And then we're going to go ahead and select the countries again. And now you'll see that there's a lot more information in the metadata. So if you scroll down to spatial reference, it'll let us know that this raw data is in WGS 84, so World Geographic System 84. Okay, that's its spatial reference and it's a coordinate system. It's not projected data, all right? When you right-click on a shapefile or any piece of geographic data and look at its properties, you also get some of this information under the XY coordinate tab. See, it tells us it's in WGS 84. That is the software looking at the data itself. That's what the data is in. When we're looking at this description, this is the metadata. This is data about data. This can be wrong. If someone wrote in here WGS 84, but somebody has actually converted it to another coordinate system, then you can have a difference between the two. That's something to be aware of. All right, so let me take a look at the instructions, make sure I'm heading in the right direction. Okay. So once we got that all fixed, now we're going to go back to our contents, and in the Lab 2 folder, not inside the raw data folder, we're going to right click and say New File Geodatabase. We're not going to use personal geodatabases. Those are going away. We're going to use File Geodatabases, and I like to name them with my last name. So, and then underscore Lab 2. So we just know this is the Lab 2 geodatabase. Never have a space in the naming conventions, right? Okay. And then now we have a geodatabase. Super. And now what we're going to do is create some featured data sets. So we're going to import some of the data out of the raw data we downloaded. And the whole point is to convert it from that WGS84 to NAD83, which is North American datum. And we're going to do that because we're mapping in North America. So I'll right click on the geodatabase, New, Featured Data Set. I'm just going to call this the cultural. So this is the cultural data, right? Next. And then we're going to choose NAD83. And so what we have to do is go to North America, and then down to USA and territories, and then NAD83. We're just going to do the regular plain old NAD83. There's lots of different versions of it, but we're going to use the base one. Next, and finish. And there we have our cultural. Okay, it's that simple. And we're going to do another one. Right click, New, Feature Data Set, and this one's going to be the physical data. And next. And it's already kind of remembering where we were, so you just click on the NAD83 again, next, and finish. Great, now we've got our two different feature data sets set in NAD83. So what we're going to do is right click on the cultural data, go to import, and you can do feature class single or multiple. We're going to do multiple because it'll retain the names of the raw data. If you do single, you just have to rename it. Even sometimes when I'm doing a single, I'll use the multiple so I don't have to rename it. That's just a way to kind of cheat it. All right, so the instructions tell you to find under the raw data, under the cultural, you want the countries, and you can just drag and drop. And I could have, navigated through this folder system to find them, but it's easier to drag and drop. And I'm also going to look for the populated places simple, this one right here, and drag and drop it. And then I'm going to hit OK and let that run. What that's doing is it's importing that raw shapefile into the feature data set inside the geodatabase, and it's converting it from WGS84 to NAD83. All right, so it worked. We got the little green guy down here, and we can check our geodatabase and look at our cultural, and there they are. All right, now on physical, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to import, feature class multiple, and all we're looking for here is the lakes. So let's find the lakes, and those are going to be under the physical features. And there they are right there, and we'll just drag and drop them. And hit OK, and let that rip. All right, so it's done. We can always check, make sure it's there. All right, so there we have our lakes. That's interesting. Why did it add that word to it, or that T to it? That's okay. Let's take a look and make sure it's right. Yep, so there they are. Okay, so then what we want to do is just take a look at this countries that we brought in. We're going to right click on it and go to its properties. And it tells us it's in North American Datum 1983, right? Because it was in WGS84, but we made the feature data set. And that's the beauty of the feature data set inside of a geodatabase. It gives you a way to convert all your data and normalize it so it all lines up and works together perfectly. Okay, and then we want to bring a raster into our geodatabase. One thing to know is these feature data sets, they're only for vector data. You cannot bring any rasters into them. It just won't allow you to do it. So we're going to go another route. Now we know that our raster is in WGS84, but if we weren't sure, we could check it. Right click on this guy, look at its properties, and then scroll down. Spatial reference WGS84. Okay, we want it to be in NAD83 as well. Just go to contents now. So we're going to right click on our geodatabase and say, oh no, actually what we're going to do is go up here to the search. There we go. And we're going to find project raster tool. Okay. And we're going to use the project raster data management. It'll bring up a tool, and what this is going to do is transform that raster data set. So the input raster is going to be our original Natural Earth 2, 50 million shaded relief with water. We'll drop it right in there. We're going to rename the output raster data set, and I'm going to click here and go through the folder and go to the geodatabase that we made. Let's see, where's it at? It's under my documents, Lab 2, right there. So we're inside that geodatabase, and we're going to name this thing raster underscore 83 because we're converting it to NAT83. Say save, and then the output coordinate system, we're going to have to change that. So it's going to be geographic again, North America, USA and territories, NAT83. Say OK. And it should automatically choose a transformation. So it's transforming it from 84 to NAT83. And we'll hit OK. And this will take a little while because it is a raster of the whole entire Earth. So we'll let that rip, and I'm going to look at the instructions, make sure I'm on track. Okay, looks like we're good. Now I've got a pretty powerful computer. I got 32 gigs of RAM. You might only have 4 or maybe 8 on your computer, so this raster can take a while. Don't be concerned. You can go and get a cup of coffee or something. All right, it did run, super, and now we can go ahead and check inside of our geodatabase. So in our geodatabase, we got 2 feature data sets. The cultural one has the countries and the places, and the physical one has the lakes, and then we just have our raster in there that's been changed, and we can always take a look at its properties and see that under spatial reference now it's in North American datum 1983. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to start up an ArcMap document. Just do a blank one. And we always go down to My Templates, Blank Map, right? And then we're going to set this default geodatabase down here. So I'm going to navigate, and I'm going to choose, oops, not my Advanced Card Lab 2. See, it gets confusing when I have multiple classes going. It's the Intro GIS Lab 2, and we're going to choose this geodatabase. And that just means we'll always look for data and put data in that geodatabase. It just makes things easier. We'll say OK. Great. And if you forgot to do that, now we're in a blank ArcMap document. You can go to File, Map Document Properties, and this allows you to set the default geodatabase as well. And while you're here, you might as well click this little box that says Store Relative Path Names. That just means if the MXD, the ArcMap document, is in a folder with some data, look at that data first. It'll help us with data connections. All right. So let's go ahead and add some data to this. So we'll go up here to the Add Data. And see, we can already see that it knows that this is the home geodatabase. It has a little house on it. It's ready to go. We're going to go inside of our cultural. We're going to add those 2. So there's our places and our countries. I'm going to go ahead and back up and add my lakes. There's our lakes. Let's make the lakes blue because lakes usually are blue. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my raster. Back up and say raster 83. And there we go. Okay. So we can change this up and make it look better. This whole map is going to be about North America. So let's zoom into North America. Now we can't see our raster because the polygon of the countries over the top of it is blocking it. So I'm just going to change that. Just make it hollow. Just choose hollow there. Maybe go up to a one size stroke, 1 point. There we go. We already made our lakes blue. That's great. The places are on top. So this is a pretty good way of going about it, right? So you could have the countries over the lakes, then you'll have the border running through the lakes, or it could be under. Usually what we'd like to do is we have points, lines, and polygons. So I put the lines above, and there we go. This raster, though, it's a little bit too, what I would say, saturated. So I'm going to double click on it, and I'm going to go to its Symbology tab, and I'm going to tell it to, instead of this stretch type down here, instead of %clip, I'm just going to say none. And when I hit apply, you'll notice that the colors now are a lot less saturated. That's how it was designed to look, okay? Don't mess around with this stretch up here. We definitely want the RGB composite. That's red, green, and blue, which gives us this nice color. Another nice little touch is under display. If we change this to bilinear, it'll just clean it up and make it a little smoother. So there we go. All right, let's see where we're at. So the best layer order, I already talked about that. Okay, now we can see all these borders for everything that's besides the United States, right? So we've got all the countries, Mexico, Cuba, so on and so forth. So we're going to do a definition query. So over here in the table of contents, we're going to go into our countries, and then we're going to go to definition query. And I actually give you the whole script, but you can also build it with the query builder. So if I scroll down here until I get to admin 0A3 and say equal, and then get unique values, that'll populate them all, and then I know what I'm looking for is the USA. So I just got to scroll down until I see it. There it is. Double click. So this equals USA. Show that border. And I say OK. It likes it. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit OK here. Now, just real quick, apply is kind of like preview. Okay, it did work, great, and then OK. If you know you're going to get what you want, then you can just go right to OK. So now I'm just seeing the United States border. We're going to do the same thing for populated places, but the query is going to have to be different. In this particular case, go to Query Builder, and it's going to be world city equals get unique values. There's only 1 or 0. We're going to do 1. Sometimes I'll hit verify to see if the expression is good. There we go. Say OK and apply, and that reduced the overall number of cities by quite a bit. Let's change these cities up so we can see them. Make that point a little bit bigger, make it something that we can see on screen. There we go. Great. And then that's maybe a little big, but I can always take it down a couple. There we go. Let's try that. There we go. And then I'm going to right click on this guy and go to label features. And it just labeled all those cities. Now if you wanted to change the size and stuff, you could get in here and you could go to the labels tab, and it's pulling it from the name attribute, right? And right now it's an Arial. I don't really like Arial. I might try something like Times. Let's see, like a Times New Roman or something. Yeah, there we go. And we'll choose that. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so it shows up better. And yeah, let's try that. There we go. And now the problem, though, is that it's hanging over the top of these black lines, so it's crashing a little bit. And you can fix that with halos and such, but you have to, in order to get that to work, you have to go over into the data frame properties under General and then change this standard label engine to Maplex. And then once you hit OK on that, and then go back to your populated places and then do placement properties, or actually, excuse me, symbol, and then edit symbol, and then mask, and then halo. That's a lot, huh? But that's going to put a little white halo. That's the size of it, and then this symbol will let you change the color. All right, so now we can see it a lot better. All right, so now what we want to do is just go into layout view, and remember you can either do it by view or the little layout view button down here. And it doesn't really work in portrait, so we're going to change this. And actually it's a good idea to save now. So I'm going to do File, Save, and then save this into the folder for this lab. Oops, where am I saving this? Oh, I know where it is. So it's this PC, it's Documents, Intro GIS Labs, Lab 2, and this is going to be Lab 2. So always put your name on things, right? Great, and this is going to save an MXD, right? An ArcMap document. Cool. Now, again, File, Page and Print Setup, and all I'm going to hit is Landscape. Say OK. And I already have my rulers, but if they weren't there, you could right-click and you could tell it to show rulers. See, now I just hit them, then I right-click and tell it to show rulers. And they're back. And then I'm going to set some guides. So I'm going to put a guide at 10. We're going to do 1-inch margins basically on our page. 7.5 and 1. And now I'm going to grab the toggles on our map. Great. I might have to zoom out a little bit. I just use my scroll wheel to zoom out. Pull it down. Cool. And then we need to zoom in on the United States. And I think in here I tell you guys to go ahead and set this at 1 to 30 million. So I can just change my scale up here to 30 million. You could just type in 30 million. 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it'll add all the commas and the 1 and the semicolon. And then I'm going to get my little pan tool, pan around and get the United States kind of lined up in the center there. And then this is a great button, zoom to whole page. That's with the layout tools. And then back to my regular tool, save again. Great. So now you're pretty much ready to answer some questions about like these cities. So I ask you, how many cities show up on your map right now? You can just count them out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 of them aren't in the United States, but which one is the biggest? Well, it's going to be between what, like New York, LA, and Mexico City. And the way to figure this out is get the little identify tool and then click on the actual city and you'll get a pop-up. I'll bring it over so we can see it. And this is all the attributes that are under Mexico City. And if we go down, there's one pop max. So just take note of that population and then compare it to the few of the other largest cities and you'll be able to figure out which one is the largest real quick. Okay? All right, so the next thing to do is to insert a title. Oops. NAD 83 map, right, of the USA. Enter. And there it is. And if you don't like the way it looks, you can always right-click on it, Properties, and then you can change its symbol. You can do anything you want. Again, Arial, I don't know, let's do something interesting. There we go, and okay. There we go. Say okay. All right. And then you're going to add a north arrow and put that somewhere on your map. And in this case, it is true in all directions. You're also going to insert a scale bar. And we'll try this one. Now remember, with your scale bars, it's always important to make sure that they actually read in nice round numbers. I'll move this out of the way. Nobody counts in 1600 miles, so I'm just going to pull this down until it becomes something that people can use. And we're getting close. 1,000 miles. There we go. Now people can actually use it. And then you're going to take some time to put another text label with your name and the date that you made the map in it, right? And that's about it. Let's see, do I ask you to put anything else in it? Nope. All right, there is a trick question though. What coordinate system or projection is this map in? Well, when you put data into ArcMap, it always inherits the original projection or coordinate system of the first piece of data you put in it. And the way to tell is up here under Layers. This is the data frame properties. I'm going to double click on that, or you could right click and go to Properties. And then I'm going to go to the Coordinate System tab. And right now, this map is in NAD 83. Why? Because that's the data that we put into it originally. Does it have a projection? Well, if we were to close these little menus down and take a look at these folders, we are actually in the geographic coordinate systems, right? We're not in projected coordinate systems. We're just in a geographic coordinate system right now. And next week, we're going to go through projections and how to change that here in the data frame. But for this week, this is an unprojected map just in NAD 83. It would also say projection down here, but right now it just says CGS North American Datum 1983. So that's the answer to that. Okay, make sure that you save. Make sure you go to File, Export Map, send it out as a JPEG. Oops, not a BMP, maybe a JPEG. And then 150 DPI, that's good. If you were really concerned, you could bump it up to 300, but I find that 150 is good enough resolution. Make sure that you save it into your right folder, and then it's ready to go into your Word report. Okay? Well, thanks a lot. That's Lab 2. If you like this, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and we'll see you next week.